Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And thanks for joining us here in the European crossover webinar. Sorry for the delay. Actually, it just got a little over an hour and a half of sleep. Is watching the didn't expect to get up at that time. Watching the U.S. men's basketball team come from behind to way behind to beat the Australian team to land the gold medal game. So let's go on and take a look at this. We've actually seen a pretty good extended move here in the indices. Looks like crude oil continues to stay weak here. But certainly in the indices, we have seen this sustained move, especially right here with the Nasdaq. And the S&P's not, I mean, it's still at its highs, it's actually above 4,400, but look at the Nasdaq here. I mean, it just continues to go on and push a little bit higher. It did some work in Asia trying to figure out where this thing may go to. We are actually right here. Was looking at the various fibs. There is a potential right here that we take a look here. 15,530 be the 161%. You can see the extension here. Well, not extension, but a low to high move, another low to high move would come in right here. Basically where we're at. So we'll see whether or not maybe on non-farm payroll day we go in and push, extend here. You can see here. And maybe we have like a little bit of a blow off. I just don't see what's going to continue to move this thing further, but it moved nonetheless and has not even slowed down. And let me go in and pull up the economic data. A moment. We do have a UK UK BOE meeting. And that will be in a couple of more hours or 2.5 more hours. And we just have our standard jobless claims. We do have import exports here in the US. We do have same thing here at the same time, which will be 8:30 Eastern, is import and export data of Canada. And that looks to be about it. So let's go on and move back in. As I mentioned, take a look at some of the other markets that may have been impacted. You remember yesterday we talked about gold, and we had it here at I think we kept our bias chart resistance at 1824. We did push higher, and it looked like we were going to go and make that push. I mean, we got above that. You can see here we pushed up to 1835, but this market rolled back in. I did see some thoughts about, the reason it rolled back in is because the dollar started to gain some steam. The dollar did move higher, but it wasn't as if the dollar just took off like a wild cat and just rallied. I mean, we did move higher, but we didn't even make it to our resistance, which was 92.40. I think the high was 92.30, I believe, or 92.28. So it just seems like gold just doesn't have the ability to really make a push higher. Every time it starts to push its head above, it gets shot right back down. So with that, we're just going and excuse me, jump into the analysis. So let's go and pull up the euro. Bear with me. Come on. Yeah, just responding to Jane about that game. It was something else, and they were really behind, and I was so mad, and I was yelling at the TV and the whole works. But it started out a very, very late game. Like I said, it ended, and I think it ended about an hour and a half before I started the webinar. I think it was, if I remember the time correctly. I just laid on the sofa to catch a little bit of sleep. But anyway, enough of that. So sorry for the delay. Let's go on and quickly move into the euro. But man, they looked in sad shape. USA basketball team. I don't know how they managed to come back. Pretty good deficit too at the time. But anyway, nonetheless, so let's go on and move into the euro, and that's my sport, basketball. So sorry about that. You can see right here now we're at 1833. Let's go on and pop into the notes. So the euro challenged 119 after the release of the ADP data before fading back below 1850. Immediate support for Thursday will be 1804, followed by 1748 with resistance at 1884. So you can see here we made that push after release of ADP data. The dollar looked like it's under a little bit of pressure because they're expecting. Sorry about that, fellas. I after watching the game fell asleep, and I had the air conditioner on real low, and I guess it must have left me with a frog in my throat. But anyway, nonetheless, so they were expecting 692. They came up with, I think it was 395 or was it 350? All I know is that initially I thought they were in line, and Simon corrected me. I look at it, and boy, they actually disappointed. And essentially that's what happened. The dollar sold off, but then we turned around and we turned things around. As I mentioned, they pushed up against 119 here, but then let me get this. But they ended up fading, as you can see here, and fading rather quickly. The close sub 1850, and now currently right now we're trading relatively quiet. I thought maybe we would have seen at least a more of an extended follow through, but we're not. So before falling back below 1850, immediate support for Thursday will be 1804, followed by 1748 if we break lower. So we'll go with the 1804 here. And resistance will be 1884. And onto the cable. And I have to go and have adjust this because we're right up against this edge here, but I won't fool with it now. Cable rallied to challenge 39.50 post ADP. You can see right here, but faded to close sub 39. And you can see here, but we're trading really quiet today. We're just a little bit higher. Support for Thursday will be 38.35 with resistance at 39.36. And on to the Aussie dollar, which is actually the team we were up against. They had actually lost to the Aussies in, I don't know if you call it exhibition game, but the prelim games. So to come back, boy, that team really looked in bad shape against the Aussies early on. It was something else. But anyway, enough of that. So the Aussie challenged the weekly level and the bias chart resistance before paring back. As you can see now, when we came on yesterday, we were actually, remember, we were only I think it was 10 pips away, or maybe even less than that. But you can see here that we did challenge against that weekly level of 74.27, but we did go on and fade back. We didn't fade back to the extent the euro did, or to a lesser extent the cable. So overall, we held up better, but we've been in the slumps for a little while anyway, so we're holding up a bit in a better shape. So support for Thursday will be 73.35. And resistance is going to remain the weekly level of 74.27. Now let's go move into the dollar yen. So the dollar yen reversed course on Wednesday, post ADP, after challenging sub 875. You can see here, boy, we really did turn things around here. Resistance for Thursday is going to be 978. We almost came close to that, but it's going to be 978 with support at 931. And you can see here, we really did turn things around here. That's a pretty good little dip there yesterday, post ADP. Dip and turnaround. So with that, we'll go into the cash dollar index. So the dollar index turned things around on Thursday to close above 92.26. Resistance remains 92.40. You can see right here. So as I said, we did turn around the dollar, but it wasn't like we went bananas. I mean, just kind of flipped. But I did see, and there's always, people always try and fit news, as opposed to explain what happened on price. And so they were saying, oh, gold faded because the dollar turned around. Well, the dollar didn't turn around. The dollar just stopped from going lower, and it was just a minor turnaround. But I would have thought that it was been enough to drag gold from above 1835 or at 1835 all the way back down. But it is lower, and that's the excuse they're given. So resistance remains 92.40, followed by 92.83. Support will be 92.02. So let's go on and take a look here with the Bitcoin. And Bitcoin continues to slide here as it continued to push lower. We had that move, and as I mentioned before, it seemed like this was going to be way out of whack for us to come all the way back, for us to eventually move from where we were at the time to go to 41,313. Remember, that was our bias chart resistance, which was really nothing more than a prior wick, which you really generally don't go by the wicks, but there's that wick right there at 41,313, and we made it up to, I think it was 41,626. And then since then, we've gone and paired back, and we continued this slide and slide and slide that we did to the point that yesterday there was our bias chart support 37,600, and you can see they actually tested it twice before the market rallied up here. We did get above the resistance because we had 38,938, and it made it up to almost 40,000. Made up to, let's see, 39,938. So it actually went 1,000 above. We're looking, but look at us now rolling right back down the hill again. This seems almost a bit similar to what we're seeing here in gold. If you look at that, if you back that up a little bit, you see that? For a while, they used to, if you remember, at least over a year ago, they used, actually maybe more than that, they used to almost mirror each other. But nonetheless, it's kind of looking like that, almost the same type of a move. And that really opens this market to potentially a further slide back. especially after we got here holding this 37,600. We finally rally up. We push above some resistance, not a whole lot, and here we are rolling right back. So now that opens the door for us not only to push lower, because this is anyone who thought, okay, this is a good buy here, but those same people are going to have their stops just below. So at this point, we would be looking $36,854. That may not be where it's going to be the low for today, but I think that's where this market initially will make a run to, and then we'll, whether or not we follow beyond that, but it looks like we're gonna, you see, anybody who's long said, wow, now I'm finally gonna get paid off. And now look, then they're like, wait a minute, what happened? Well, okay, well, I guess it's gonna try and hold here, or it's gonna hold here. Well, I'm gonna put my stops just below here. And hence, I think we'll get it down here to this 36,854 for a challenge. Resistance in the meantime, well, they did push up in here, made a gallant try, but they faded. So we'll go right there with that level, which is going to be 39,558. And with that, we'll go and move into the S&Ps. Wow, these S&Ps are really holding here. The only thing I'm thinking when I look in here, as I told you, prior to the game, I was up in Asia. I was trying to like figure out like where can this thing go to. And once again, I'm referencing back here at the Nasdaq, and you can see here I was playing again with this area here. This was an older fib. And I was saying, well, what if I put a 261% extension? And I opened this door to go all the way back 2 years. Look at this. Trying to see if I could find something, and I really couldn't find anything. And of course, we're talking about the S&Ps, although I'm looking at the Nasdaq. But I was, basically looking at these moves, saying, okay, where can this project? Where can this project? We are a bit stretched in the Nasdaq. So when I go now to the S&Ps, which is what we're looking at right now, you look here, I just can't find anything. I know Blake is pointing to that wedge. I don't know if these may meet the same thing as his wedge. I don't know. I saw he had posted something as, hey, it's still in a bullish wedge or something like that. And that it's still bullish. But you can see here, as if we've come up to this level right here, the market just seems to be running out of gas. I mean, like I said, I don't even use oscillators, but I would think that if you're looking at RSI or so, stochastics, you'd probably be saying, wow, this market is kind of just, maybe it's starting to run out of gas as far as we might even see a bit of a diverging RSI or stochastics. If someone was looking at that, I don't follow the oscillators. So I'm thinking if you look at a market, a chart, you can basically tell where a market's kind of run out of gas. Obviously, I guess it's going to do one or two things, either blow doors on the upside. And I'm not one of those that's looking for a move lower necessarily, but I don't know what the catalyst is going to be to push us, other than they may stop out. Supposedly there was quite a few people over the course of this last week that were buying puts across the board. And I think I guess they're looking for this move lower. And maybe this is where we can blow some of those people out, blow some of those people out of the water. Take a look here. Looking at a very short-term time frame. And we talked about this yesterday, and I think I saw Amanda and Jane were looking at something here, and we think we referenced this yesterday. If you look on the 2-hour chart, Doggone. What the heck? There we go. Okay, you see the range here? We said this yesterday, and I think that's what they were talking about. But I saw this myself. You look here, from here to here, and if you take this, I've done this before. We extend it. You have a range, and what you do is just add on with that range as an extension. So you add that on. You see right here. That takes us to 44.73 or 44.74. So right there. I think that we're probably just going to stop these people out. I mean, if you're short, you're thinking, wow, I hope it doesn't get too much beyond that. And you're still short, you're thinking, well, you dodged a bullet with ADP. I think I'm in good shape. And let's see how NFP goes. And maybe if we push above here, we're going to make that extension up in here and probably blow some people out of the water. And then maybe, it doesn't mean we're going to turn around and sell out. Is the market just gets to a point where almost kind of like where it's at now in a way, but we have NFP to look ahead. Of course, there's those concerns with these hospitalizations and things like that for this variant. But you can see where the market just kind of like, it starts going up. We're just kind of basically spinning our wheels here. Now, to its credit, it's not like it's selling off, but I'm just saying, I just don't know what that catalyst is going to be. Although technically, once again, if we get above here on NFP day, I didn't even have a single trade yesterday. I couldn't even, there was a couple of times I saw things happening for the Nasdaq, and actually I was going to go in and trade the S&Ps. And it's probably a good idea that I didn't. I'm talking about on either one, because each time I was thinking about coming in, the market would kind of start to go back the other way, although in a very tight range. So, but I was on my hands, sitting on my hands all day long. Now, looking here, the only thing that I can go with again for today is going to be the same resistance, which is at 44.21 and support 43.98, which that it did actually go to 98. It actually bounced a little bit, and then eventually I think it went down to 43.95. So we'll go with 43.89. There. And we have seen the market make a run at 44.07, kind of run out of gas. I mean, these levels of then 44.12, that's another key one. They're kind of etched into place, so I don't see what we're going to necessarily pick up anything brand new or something's going to stand out because we're going in and take a look at that, even if it's, as I mentioned, on a profile. Bear with me. Oh my goodness. Okay, RTH data. I mean, yeah. See, there's nothing that we're seeing right now in this RTH regular trading hours. Obviously, you can see right here at 44.10. Look how tight this range was yesterday. Look at that. Holy smokes. That's tight as a drum. Here is the IB right there. That's 44.08. We've talked about that 44.07 before. And oh, look at that. We the low for the day RTH was 43.91. There was our 40. Remember when we had 43.98 and 43.89. I didn't even notice the 43.91. I guess so focused. Then my focus had turned really more towards the Nasdaq because we had so much trouble. It did make it to 44.05, and then we rolled down the hill, and here, if you look at this, in B period, the low was, you see right there in B, the low in B period was 4,400. And then we rallied all the way back up here. In B period, you can see here. Oh, we actually did even push even higher. We got up to, yeah, 4,406. That's look, I was saying, oh, looks like they're gonna run some stops. Got to 4,406, I think 4,406 and a half or 75. And then we rolled down here in C period to eventually, after they look like they may have stopped some people out, then they made it all the way down here to 43.94 before coming back. Anyway, tight, really tight day. So I think that those stand, there's no change here. So this 43.89 from yesterday ended up holding to 98 held initially. Then of course on the downside 89, you can see we made it all the way down to 91. That held. I'm just going to stick with that. So let's go move into the Nasdaq. So here we are on the Nasdaq, as I told you, prior to the game, a little bit pooped. Prior to the game, I was doing some work on this, looking like, where can this thing go? And pulling this back, and I go back an extended period. Oh, I went back 2 years. Then I go back 1,200 days. So essentially, what is it? Almost 3.5 years or so. Still trying to see, can I see something that this takes me, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't find anything. The only thing I did find is, you can see the low move from November to the high move here to February. And that was going to be from right here. And then if you extend this out, do a duplication of that. I want to say parallel, but anyway, duplication, and then you extend it, and here's the reaction wasn't even very low, although that's the best high to low at this point. Here, then that takes us right, excuse me, 15,130, which is essentially where we're at, almost. And then 15,530 is going to be the 161%. So this really opens the door for them maybe to push a little bit higher here on Friday, take out some stops, and maybe that's as far as we go. It doesn't mean, like I said, we're going to fall apart, but and we're holding up very well overall. Actually, better than the S&Ps. When you look at this, key's going to be how we close on the week, but this thing still looks very, very good on the weekly. So where's the resistance? And you can see here with this extension, that takes us to 121, and that's where the market is kind of sputtered. Take a look at this on a very shorter time. I think that's where we got that one. Oh, 15,353. This extension might be from the other one. You see here? So I kind of think they're going to go on and blow these shorts, any shorts that may have been, and take them out on NFP day. If nothing else, we got the disappointment in ADP, and look how well the market's holding up. It's like they don't want to go down, and they're not going to let go. So I kind of think that we will go on and hit those highs. And what I'll be looking for, that sure seems like a ways, but it is what it is. And this is wrong about saying 15,530 unless, let's go back here. There. No, you see right there? And I don't know if I read a whole bunch of fibs. Well, 495, okay. Maybe that was just off. 14,444. Oh yeah, it was off of here. Yeah, that's where it is. The most recent high low. You can see that right here. And that would put us at, this should be 15,330, not 15,530. That's still a pretty good little run here in the stops. And that's 350. But at least for an immediate immediate run, and look at that. See, we're basically right there at that 127% extension. And the 161% puts us at 15,330. But doggone, that's a pretty good little run here. And this takes us right where we're at 15,130. I just don't know about that. That just seems too far for me. Let's go now to the 2-hour chart. Let's just go with this extension. Well, there we go. That's 350. I just don't know. $330 again. You see it? Well, at least for the meantime, this very short period here. Same thing, 15,300. I'm just going to go with 15 with a little overshoot. I'm going to say 15,230. That's what we'll go with. And really, this is more about not today, but for tomorrow. 15,230. And then here we're going to keep the same lows, 14,935, 14,863. And then taking a look at gold. Really disappointing move here in gold. We did remember yesterday we had 1826. So when I was looking at it, the last time I looked at it, I go, oh, wow, they're pushing above that. And then they ran out of gas. And then they just said, oh, it's because the dollar rallied. The dollar didn't rally very much at all. It came off those lows, but it wasn't like it rallied, so it took off. So now, I don't even think we can even make it to 1824 right now. I'd be going with 1820 on the upside. Actually, I'll go back to the old one. That was the 1818. The old key resistance where we had the VWAP back then. And on the downside, looking for a move to 1802, followed by 1794. And now let's go and move into crude oil. Oh, wow, now we're starting to move higher. I noticed this yesterday, I posted in this chat room, we had this little mini hammer, and look, we went and took another dip, but look at this. See how we held here? So now we're starting to take off a little bit. So let's take a look at it on a 2-hour chart. Resistance would come in right there at 69.35. That's immediate resistance. And support, what you can see is holding here. Right there, 67.93. Maybe we're going to finally try and make a hold here. Let's go and take a look at the profile. Now this is RTH though. Here's the low from there, which is 69.22. We're talking about 69.35. Oh, the midpoint from yesterday is 69.33. So I like it. I like it there. And the 67.93. We'll stay with that. The value area low right now is 67.96. So I do like this. So there's the bias chart for today. I'll get that posted in the room. And thanks for the watch us here in the European crossover webinar. Sorry for the delay. That's the only one Olympic event I've even watched. The only one I really care about, which is USA basketball. Tomorrow will be the gold medal game. I think it comes up at 9:35 Eastern time, if I believe it's, remember the time. I didn't, oh yeah, Slovenia and France play later on this morning. I think in 3 more hours, we'll find out who we're going to play. Supposedly the men really want to play France because that's who also beat them in that preliminary play. But thanks for joining us here. We'll get the bias chart posted, and thanks for joining us here on the European crossover webinar.